Now let's learn about one of the most important concepts of any programming language, which is called operators. From our previous videos, we looked at this cheat sheet where we saw that the plus sign and the equal sign are both operators. But there are many other operators with more complex and more advanced capability than just the addition symbol or the equals symbol. So if I go to this particular cheat sheet over here, we have a lot of different operators over here. But these are just the most common ones that you need to know about. But for a full list, I've included this particular URL. So if you go to this link, you will go to the Mozilla documentation, which is the world's best documentation on web technology. So on that, they have this section called expressions and operators, and which has a list of all the operators that JavaScript has. You can take a look, and if you click on one of these particular operators, you can see the full description of what that operator does. But for our course purposes, we're going to look at the most common ones, okay? Now, before we go any further, let's take a look at what really is an operator. It's pretty simple, actually. So I'm going to zoom in over here in the documentation and read the definition. The definition says, operators are reserved words that perform action on values and variables. Now, to understand this definition, you need to know what a reserved word is. And we saw from our previous videos that a reserved word or a keyword is simply a word that is part of the vocabulary of the programming language. So the programming language understands what those words mean. So operators are reserved words that perform an action on values and variables. So variables could be any variable and a value could be any type in JavaScript. So moving forward, let's look at some of these operators over here, okay? So we have the plus sign, the negative sign, the multiplication sign, and so forth. Now, when you're using an operator, the operator accepts certain input. It could take one input, it could take two inputs, it could take three inputs, depending on the operator. Different operators work differently, all right? So the plus operator, I've used this dot dot, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. These dot dots, that basically signifies that any kind of value or variable is needed on both the sides. So dot means over here and over here. So both of the sides, it needs some kind of value. So all the arithmetic operators, which are the plus, negative, minus sign, multiplication, division, remainder, the percentage sign is actually remainder. We're going to look at it. And the double asterisk sign is the exponential operator. So all of these need an input or the value or a variable on both of its sides. So I'm going to simply go to the Chrome Developer Tools and we're going to just simply play around with it. So I'm going to simply do 5 plus 2 and simply it gives me 7. So that's the plus operator. You can actually use a negative number as well. So I can say negative 5 plus 2 and it's going to give me negative 3. So simple mathematics over here. I can similarly use the negative operator. So I can simply do, let's say 10 minus 2. It's going to give me 8. If I do negative 10 minus 2, it's going to give me negative 12. So it's simple mathematics. Similarly, we have the asterisk sign, which is multiplication. So we're going to simply do, let's say 5 times 2. It's going to give me 10. And I can also do negative numbers as well. So if I do that, I get negative 10. Similarly, we have the division sign, which is the forward slash sign. So if I do 1 divided by 2, I get half 0.5. I do, let's say 5 or let's say 10 divided by 5, I get 2. And we can also use spaces a little bit more sparingly between the operators. So if I use these spaces, the results will be the same. Now, I'm showing you this in the console, but you can simply use all this code in your actual source files, your JavaScript files, and you can do these kind of operations. Now, moving forward, we have something called the percentage sign, which is the remainder operator. The remainder operator, what it does is, let's say if I'm dividing something. So let's say if I do 5 percentage and 2. So if you try to divide 5 divided by 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So if you do that, yes, you get 4, but 1 is remaining, right? So that is the remainder of 5 percentage 2. So you get the remainder sign, right? So this is a good scenario to use when you are, let's say, figuring out if there's an odd number or even number. So if you try to divide any number, let's say 10 divided by 2, I mean percentage 2. So if you do not get any remainder, that means it's an even number. But if you get a remainder, that means it's an odd number, right? So that's a technique used commonly in programming. Moving forward, there's an exponential operator, which is the double asterisk sign. So let's say if you want to use the power, so let's say 2 to the power of, let's say, 3. So 2 raised to the power 3 is 8. So let's say if you do 10 raised to the power 3 is 1000, or you can do whatever number you want and you will get that particular result. So that's pretty much it for this video for introduction to operators and looking at some arithmetic operators. In the next video, we're going to look at some more and go over all this cheat sheet and different operators that we have, and plus some advanced concepts that's going to serve you very well. Talk to you in the next video.